War Eagle, War Rapport family, I'm your host, C-Dub, and tonight, Jeffrey Lee of AuburnSports.com steps into the war room to discuss Donovan Kaufman's commitment to Auburn, as well as other transfer portal news surrounding the Auburn football program. You got questions? He got some answers for you. So, fellas, y'all ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Well, they're ready, and you should be ready as well, because we are entering the war room.
You are now listening to the War Report. Wednesday night War Room. Ike Jones. Big Will. C-Doe. Mike G. Let's go!
War Eagle, War Rapport family, happy hump day to you all. Guys, come on in, wipe your feet off, smash that like button. Please be sure to drop a War Eagle in the comment section. If you're not Auburn family, please drop your city and your state, wherever you're watching this from. We love to hear from you guys. And as always, we want you guys to share our video. Please share this with everyone you know who would enjoy this content. If you're on Twitter, add us at The War Report, hashtag TWR War Room, and hashtag Get Your Weight Up. We appreciate that greatly. We got some great things coming up, Mike G. You got us some news?
Oh, man, I'm ready to talk recruiting, so I'm going to get through this. Listen, become an insider. $5.99 a month. Thank you so much to everybody who's been supporting us with your insider memberships. We have taken every dollar and put it back into creating better content for you and bringing experts like Jeffrey Lee on to talk about things that we do not specialize in, but that he is the master at. So become an insider. We've got new and expanding content. And for our insiders tomorrow night, Chop It Up with a Pro. We did a little bit of a pivot. We're bringing Courtney Taylor on. He was the leader in receptions at Auburn until Ryan Davis broke his record. So he is number 2 on this list. He's going to be joining us tomorrow night. We're pushing that time back just a little bit to accommodate Courtney's schedule. So instead of 9 p.m. Eastern, that will be 10 p.m. Eastern. I know that's a little late. That's 9 o'clock. For you guys in Alabama, 10 o'clock for me. But we're looking forward to having Courtney on, so watch out for that posting. We are giving away another Bo Jackson Kansas City Royal card, mint condition, laminated, and that is coming courtesy of Dirt Road Outfitters. That's our guy, Risk No Rewards, in the comments. One of our greatest community members. He donated these cards for us to be able to give away to you to win tonight. All you have to do is drop a hashtag Save a Pet in the comments. That's Save a Pet. And the reason we want you to drop that hashtag is because we have partnered with the Lee County Humane Society. Those of you who have been donating to our GoFundMe know that as our platform grows, so does our social responsibility. We want to put some good back into the world. We have officially and legally partnered with them. 50 cents on every dollar goes to the Lee County Humane Society to help us save an animal, feed an animal, and then find a good home for animals. Ike and I, have rescue pets. They add so much value to our lives. We want to help other people find that joy. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. So please hit that. We appreciate any and all donations. No donation is too small. Our merch store is live. You can get your War Report merch. This is also in the About section of our YouTube channel. And last but certainly not least, this week, we dropped an interview with none other than Bradley Larondo, who is the Associate Athletic Director and Football Chief of Staff under Brian Harsin. Brad came from Boise with Harsin. Listen, man, nobody knows this guy better. He's worked with him over the last 10 years, and we asked him some questions about just culture and what we can look forward to as Auburn fans. He was very gracious in donating some of his time to talk to us about such matters, and we appreciate that. It was just a great interview. It was great to hear him come in and just sound like an Auburn man right off the rip, man. So we appreciate Brad. Please go check out that interview as soon as you can. That's all I got. Let's get started.
Appreciate that, Mike G. Mr. Lee, You've had a busy day today, sir. How have you been?
Busy.
Now, a question I've been wanting to ask you is, in the month of May, there's always movement. In a normal year where there's not a pandemic, you usually have camps. You usually have, in previous years, we've had Big Cat Weekend. The coaching staffs have had a lot of recruits on for official visits. So May is it's not unusual that May is kind of a busy month, but has this been kind of unusually busy, seeing as though we're dealing with the transfer portal, or is it just another day at the office for you?
No, without the transfer portal, we're not really doing anything right now. So it's kind of been a blessing to keep the momentum going. Something to do, especially like you said, May is usually a very busy month for official visits, unofficial visits for the underclassmen coming in, getting an early start on their recruitment. But yeah, so it's been fun not having to worry about the visits and all this movement that we've seen in the transfer portal. We've been able to concentrate on the portal. And I tell you, man, what Auburn has done so far has been, very impressive. I've been very impressed with what they've been able to bring in, who they're targeting, the guys that they've been able to replace. And just really impressive today was, another cherry on top, getting Donovan Kaufman from Vanderbilt.
Well, let's talk about that since you've already mentioned them. Unless you've been under an orange and blue rock, Donovan Kaufman has committed to Auburn. He was the Vanderbilt transfer who entered the portal a while back. And of course, he's 5'9", 195 pounds, safety nickel, former 3-star. Last year, he played a few games before getting injured for the rest of the year, but he had 15 total tackles, 137 total kick return yards. Very dynamic in kick return. He committed to Auburn over Texas and Florida State. He is expected to have 4 years of eligibility remaining. Now, he had a quote in the article that Jeffrey Lee did, is my relationship with Coach Mason has always been great, and it still is. We have a great relationship. He knows my family well. I know him and his family well. I love playing for him. He's just a great guy. I love him and know that he's going to prepare me for the next level. So it's pretty much, I don't think it was any surprise that he was going to go to Auburn. To my knowledge, I learned that Texas had some assistants who were formerly coaching with Vanderbilt, right. Which is why he had garnered interest to go out there. But in your words, my question to you, Jeffrey, is there's a concern about on June 3rd, the SEC will decide whether or not SEC to SEC transfers will become immediately eligible for the fall. Of course, we know the NCAA rule that transfers can have a one-time transfer and become immediately eligible, but the SEC has not made that determination yet. What's the likelihood, in your opinion, that they make that decision to allow guys like Kaufman to become eligible immediately?
I think it's very likely. I think everybody that I talk to who knows more than I do is expecting it to pass. Now, will it pass without some stipulations, maybe some penalties towards the school accepting the kid coming from another SEC? Probably, but I don't think it will affect the kid. I think especially during this time, there's a lot of leverage for these student athletes right now, and deservedly so. It's just a long time coming. I love it. The one-time transfer rule, especially in the SEC, I think it will pass, and I think a lot of these kids are talking to these guys who know more than most of us, and they're banking on it passing. TJ Finley is another guy, the quarterback from LSU, who's looking very hard at Auburn. He's actually one of the few who's going to wait and see what the SEC does. But Desi Seals, the guy from basketball guy from Arkansas, has already transferred to Auburn. He's banking on it passing, as is Donovan Kaufman. So I think everybody's pretty optimistic about it. I think it would be a huge surprise to a lot of people, probably you guys too, if this thing didn't pass.
Right. Jeff, kind of in the article that you wrote, I thought it really stood out how much Kaufman emphasized his relationship with Harsin. Now that we're opening up, this portal is opening up things, how much more important do you think building the relationship with the recruit is going to be, and not only getting guys to come to your school, but snatching guys out of the portal now? It seems like it's a lot of relationship stuff that's happening between, Mason and the guys he's bringing in.
Absolutely. You look at the guys who left Auburn, going to UCF with Travis Williams, with Gus Malzahn, seeing guys going to Tennessee with Rodney Garner, Cody Burns are up there, Donovan Kaufman coming from Vandy with Derek Mason. I think that's obviously very important for these kids. And relationships, you go old school, man, back to Tuberville days. He knew better than anybody that relationships is recruiting. And these kids, 9 times out of 10, go where they're most comfortable with relationships and the coaches. So I think it's huge. And it's really worked out perfectly for Auburn because they've got this new staff in, half of whom are from Boise. So these Southeast kids, these Georgia kids, these Florida kids, these Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, they don't know these guys. They don't. They know what they've been told just coming to Auburn. So Auburn, when it comes to the 2022 class, these upcoming seniors, Auburn's way behind with these kids. And they're going to take their licks in this class because of that, because they're so far behind. So what do? They use what they have, the relationships that they have now, and they're going and using those in this transfer portal. And they're thinking ahead. They're saying, hey, we're struggling right now with inside, for instance, inside linebacker. We don't see our top 8 guys showing us a lot of love right now. So let's go get a guy in the portal with 4 years of eligibility who's just as, he's got just as much time. So it's not like you're going to get a JUCO guy with 2 years left. You're going to get a guy who's played a season in the SEC possibly coming in, and he is a true freshman all over again. So that's what I've seen Auburn do in the transfer portal and use their relationships to their benefit.
To talk about Auburn's strategy, because it was my understanding that you had maybe like X amount of spots left, but apparently they're getting kids that can count towards the 2022 class, right. Which is why you're seeing an uptick in potential prospects. So does that kind of deal with what you're talking about? Like kind of struggling to get or make ground with these kids in the Southeast. And so we're going to just count those towards the 2022 class like we would if we were getting kids out of high school.
Absolutely. They've got 3 spots left over from the 2021 class. And then everybody after that is counting 2022 class. And I don't know if Larondo talked about this on your show, but he would probably know more than me. But you can get these kids on campus in June, July, and they can go through workouts, practice, but they don't officially sign until August the 1st, therefore making them eligible to be a quote-unquote blue shirt. I'm sorry about that. And Auburn is using this to their advantage, like I said. So you're looking at 7 guys, 7 spots for the 2022 class that they're filling with these 21 transfers, these class of 2021 guys coming out in the transfer portal. So and I love it because in the previous staff, Malzahn, those guys, personally love those guys, and but they weren't forward thinking when it comes to recruiting. They would spin their tires against these 5-stars from an hour down the road from Athens. And if Georgia wanted a 5-star, if Alabama wanted a 5-star, Auburn wasn't getting that 5-star 90% of the time. They got Marlon Davidson, they got Derek Brown. It wasn't like they didn't get anybody. Bo Nix, all those guys, had ties to Auburn. But Malzahn, it seemed like they were just spinning. And I can't imagine the previous staff doing what this staff is doing by saying, hey, we know we're behind. We know we're not going to land these guys. Or it's going to be very difficult. So let's go get somebody with as much experience left and more experience coming in than a high school kid that we're just going to be spinning our tires and hoping like heck that he chooses us in the end.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, Jeff, well, we know we're seeing a lot of departures. And if you had told us at the beginning of the spring that we were going to see 4 or 5 transferring out, we would have said, okay, fine. We can see that, a lot of position battles are going to get settled. But the degree to which we're seeing them now, with Domio just announcing today that he was in the portal, how much of it, based on your experience and what you've seen, is the new staff letting them know that, hey, you're not our guy, You're not that high on the depth chart. And how much of it is maybe some underlying stuff that we can't quite see from the outside looking in?
I think a lot of it, if this were happening at Alabama or something, people would be calling it, they're getting processed. They're trimming the fat. For some reason at Auburn, people look at it and go, oh my gosh, something's got to be wrong. Why are all these guys leaving? But I've talked to 2 guys very high up on the staff, and they said when we came here, we had a third of the team crawling past the finish line on wind sprints. We've seen quotes, I think it was Harsin talking about guys showing up late. I mean, it was just part of it was status quo for them. And that's not going to be, I'm sure Larondo talked about this, that's not going to be tolerated under this staff. I like what Harsin does. I like his attitude. I like it. We hear he's an alpha, something Auburn hasn't had in a long time at coach. He has high expectations for these kids. And if you're not going to live up to them, and I've been told off the record, pieces, man, throw up the deuce.
Wow. I have a question about Kaufman. So, if you asked us about if there were any one position on our team that we thought was solid, it would be defensive backfield kind of coming into the season. So what does it say about what's happening within the program that we've got our second high profile, portal guy that's going to be in the defensive backfield? What's going on there?
Third, actually, you got Dre Sean Miller coming in from West Virginia. You got coming in from SEMO. But I think Donovan was almost like, man, this kid's really good, and we've got a really good shot. We've got to get this kid. It would be. Can you imagine Auburn going, we're good, Donovan, and him going to Texas or Florida State. And that was a guy you couldn't pass up on. And Derek Mason, I really don't know, but in high school, Derek Mason went above and beyond to get a relationship built with this kid, not only him, but with his father, who, if I'm not mistaken, was in prison at the time. And Derek Mason went and visited him in prison. He wanted his father to know. His father's out by now, but Derek Mason went. That's just kind of, if y'all have ever met Derek Mason, and I haven't just indirectly, but he is a wonderful human being. He's the kind of guy you want to be around. He makes this world better. He is a fantastic guy, and I'm sure going into the living rooms, talking to these parents, you can't feel nothing but comfortable sending your kid with him. So when you've got a chance to get a kid like Donovan Kaufman, you're obviously going to take it. But we talked about Dre Sean Miller coming from West Virginia, big cornerback. Darius Knighton, safety, was an All-American as a sophomore. I don't know what publication, but he was at least getting, he was fantastic. He's a really good DB. And then Kaufman, you've got Roger McCreary coming back, Jalen Simpson coming back, Nehemiah Pritchett coming back, Ladarius Tennyson, Smoke Monday. That's 7 or 8 guys right there for 5 to 6 spots, and they can plug them. They can move these guys around. If you'll remember, at the end of spring, Ladarius Tennyson was finished up beside Smoke Monday at safety, and he's not a natural there. He's a natural at that nickel spot. Donovan Kaufman reminds me a lot, and he's even built like him. Donovan actually told me last night he's 5'8". He's 5'9" with his cleats on, but he's 5'8", 200 pounds. So he's built a lot like LT. I think you're going to see a really strong 2 deep there. I think by Darius Knighton, Smoke Monday back at the safety spots, and then those fantastic corners, Simpson, McCreary, and Nehemiah Pritchett all manning the outside. I think the defense is going to be good. And we haven't even talked about the D-line with Tony Fair from UAB. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a zero tech, plug guy who is a beast. He told me he was 6'3", 345. He wants to get down to about 330. But man, he's taking on double teams, allowing Owen Papo, Zacoby McClain to free them up. I'm really excited about this. There's really not a weak spot. Derek Hall, Colby Wooden, Lee Hunter coming in as a true freshman. I'm excited to see this defense. If they can get together this summer, get gelling, build some chemistry, Derek Mason is going to have a field day with these guys.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most is just kind of seeing the creativity that Derek Mason is going to bring to the defense with all the different tools that are available. Like you said, it's plug and play, right? Like there's a lot of guys who are interchangeable pieces. And I don't know, man. I don't even know what they're going to line up in, but I feel like it's going to be crazy.
They're not quite finished on defense. Marcus Harris from Kansas, who's originally from Park Crossing High, right up 85 here in Montgomery. He's going to be deciding Friday. He was I think he had 7.5 tackles for loss last year as a redshirt freshman at Kansas. I think he would have led the team at Auburn if he had had the same numbers.
Right.
And, sorry, I have a 10-year-old child. Mark, but he will decide Friday. He's got a great relationship with Nick Eason, or they've been building one. He loves that Nick has played in college, loves that he played in the NFL, loves that he's coached in the NFL, loves to be able to get back home. So I think Marcus Harris could be the final piece of this defense as far as bringing guys in. I think from now on out, I think we've got about 7. We have it marked about 7 that Auburn has left over to fill. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. And then they'll turn to the offense. Another guy to keep an eye on, and I've heard the name brought up, and I've checked into this guy, but Texas A&M has a linebacker transfer. His name's Keyshawn Brown. He's from Carver High School in Montgomery. Him and Marcus Harris are very good friends. They train together there in Montgomery with Marlon Davidson's guy. They're all real close. I think he ends up at Auburn too. I don't think there's a high priority for him stamped as far as linebacker, but I think he's going to end up at Auburn. I just don't know in what capacity. Will he be a preferred walk-on? Will he gray shirt? Maybe not start, not blue shirt, but maybe gray shirt and sit out the fall. But he's planning on being at Auburn, and I just don't know, the specifics or the details on how that's going to happen. But both of them are probably going to announce Friday. I would expect Marcus Harris come to Auburn, finish that defense recruiting for this class out, and then Auburn turn all their focus to the offense and filling quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and offensive tackle. Those are the 4. And then I can see Auburn taking maybe 2 best available guys. It could be a linebacker, it could be a defense. Just taking the best 2 available that they can find.
Appreciate that, Jeffrey. And you mentioned O-line, and I was going to go there with one of the questions from our listeners in the comment section. JT Martin was wanting to know what's up with the O-line. It's been really quiet on that front, and it seems to me that the staff is doing some stuff behind the scenes, but they're keeping it real hush hush because of how highly coveted the offensive tackle position is. Can you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's going to be as public as some of these other positions have been. They're looking at some guys who haven't been announced as a transfer portal yet because, like you said, offensive tackles are so few and far between. And if one hits the transfer portal, you can bet that colleges have already been indirectly recruiting him, reaching out to his coach, reaching out and filling him out from the outside, which is perfectly legal. You just can't contact the kid. So there's definitely some things going on. And I tell you, they're going to get a preferred walk-on later this summer from Ole Miss. It's Brady Ward. Is planning on walking on at Auburn. Former 3-star tackle from St. Paul's down in Mobile. Auburn looked at him out of high school, but he ended up signing with Ole Miss. I think he'll end up at Auburn. I don't think it will be on scholarship, but Auburn needs a guy who can play immediately. I mean, let's be honest here. If Auburn has a big-time left tackle between now and summer practice, that changes the dynamics on this team. Maybe that changes the expectations of this team because the defense looks to be set. The offense, right. Wide receivers, another. So as far as offensive tackle, I think they'll add Ward as a walk-on, but they're really looking at some other big-time guys to hit the portal. They've got their eyes on some. They've got their feelers out with a few guys, and same probably with the wide receiver. There's a guy they've been keeping an eye on, and he hasn't entered the transfer portal yet, but could be in the next week. And he's certainly he would certainly be somebody to be excited about. I don't want to disclose his name and put any more pressure. There's definitely some guys, and Auburn's definitely working behind the scenes with wide receiver, with offensive tackle, with quarterback. We know TJ Finley is top dog. I mean, the kid from LSU played as a freshman last year. Was decent, but you could see the potential in him. I mean, he's 6'6". He would be a guy that could come in and actually compete with Bo Nix. I mean, they're not recruiting him to play backup. I mean, they want him to come in and compete. And this kid, he can sling it, man. He's good. He could put some pressure on Bo, and I think that's what Bo needs. He's the one, we talked about waiting on the SEC to SEC transfer rule. He's going to announce in June, but Alabama, Georgia, Florida, all these guys are coming after him. But Harsin and Mike Bobo have been, not only communicating with this guy, but they're going ahead. They're not showing him the offense. They're actually teaching him the offense. They want him to come in if he does choose Auburn. They want him to come in already with his nose in the playbook.
Interesting.
Right now Auburn's looking at a true freshman who's never taken a college snap before, probably as the number 2.
Yeah. I hope so. Based on what I saw from, never mind. I don't want to get into it. I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it,
brother.
Yeah.
Listen, we don't like to talk about Grant Loy around here, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead, man. We'll talk about Finley, man.
For the sake of the kid, we're going to move on. TJ Finley, you mentioned him. It's interesting because the fan base is kind of split on him. I guess the fan base has kind of a sour taste in their mouth from the LSU Auburn game and Jordan Hare, where he didn't do well. And Max Johnson ended up coming in down the stretch and finishing the game. And of course, we know the story that at LSU, Max Johnson ended up becoming the quarterback down the stretch of the season. And of course, Finley is now available. And what does it say that you have schools like Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, Penn State? Like, they don't just go after scrubs, right? So that tells you something about this kid's upside. Can you kind of speak to that in an effort to kind of reassure Auburn fans what they could potentially be getting in TJ Finley?
One of the best ways to gauge a recruit, in my opinion, I've been doing this since 2004, Cadillac senior year. He was, so I've been doing this a long time, and I've learned, forget the stars, man. I want to see who's offered these kids. I want to see who's coming after these kids. I want to see how hard Auburn's going after this kid. Is it just an offer, or are they throwing their name in the hat to kind of see what's happening? But when you look at Alabama and Florida, that's all the two I need to see. Alabama and Florida. Dan Mullen wants him. Right. He's good. Okay.
Right.
You talk about the LSU game last year where he got replaced. Let's go back when Bo Nix was a true freshman at Florida, throwing picks. So guess what? Auburn didn't have anybody to replace him with.
Right.
Or else he may be an afterthought to this point. If Auburn didn't have anybody. Well, now if Bo struggles, man, you've got somebody to put in there. You got a guy like TJ Finley who's played in the SEC. He was a true freshman. He made mistakes. Bo, you think Bo didn't make mistakes? My goodness, it's a true freshman. There just wasn't anybody to replace him with. There wasn't anybody to throw in and finish the game. LSU, surprisingly, were smart enough to recruit more than one quarterback and had guys to go to, So, I won't look at that. To me, in my opinion, especially when it comes to quarterback, if Dan Mullen wants him, you want him.
Jeff, talk a little bit about the recruitment of Finley, right? Listen, he didn't mix words in some of the comments that he had in talking about the possibility of him landing at Auburn. And he's saying, listen, it's not like I'm going there to be a backup.
That's right.
So, what is your feeling about what the coaches are selling to him? Are they really selling to him? And I'm jaded, right? I'm jaded as an Auburn fan because I want to believe they're selling to him, come here and compete now.
Absolutely.
Is this move all about depth at quarterback, or do they really see something special in this kid and they're saying, let's go out and get this guy so that we can fill the depth need, but also, have a possible starting quarterback?
I think there were quarterbacks out there that Auburn says, hey, man, you can come in here and give us depth. If something happens to Bo, you're going to be ready to step in. TJ Finley isn't that guy. They want TJ Finley. Bo Nix wants TJ Finley. Bo Nix, believe it or not, man, is one of the better team players you'll ever find. He wants Auburn to be great. And he hopes he's part of that. He hopes he's one of the reasons that Auburn is great. But if he's not, he really does want to win. He wants TJ Finley to come in there and make him better, push him. Competition breeds great success. And it also breeds depth. So you don't go out and recruit a guy to be the third string or the second string guy. You go out there to recruit a guy to compete for number one. And then your depth comes from that battle. The loser goes to number 2. D Davis, where are you? He's in there too.
And that's actually the question that I have. Like, what do you feel like that says to, a Demetrius Davis about his future at Auburn? Because TJ Finley has so much eligibility left if he
4
comes
years.
in, right? And then you still have a guy who's already committed for next year. That's a 4-star, right? So what is that signal to your 4-star recruit quarterback coming in next year, and your Demetrius Davis, a 4-star recruit that's here right now, that's losing eligibility while he's sitting kind of waiting? Like, what is that signal to those guys?
It's probably pretty awkward. I mean, I'm putting myself in D's shoes, right?
Right.
You know, I feel like a number 2 is a true freshman. They're going out and they're bringing in a true freshman. But you've got to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And I'm sorry, Grant Lloyd. You know, I love you, big dog, but you're not winning any SEC games, in my opinion.
He said it, not us. Guys.
Everybody hear that. That was not me. I didn't bring up his name. I didn't say anything about him. It was not me.
I said, bring up Grant Lloyd.
No.
No, and I'm just going off of what I saw in the spring. D. Davis is a winner, but you got to have 3. You really do. And I think going out and securing TJ Finley. And then listen, every school, every decent school, every good program, especially in the SEC, every top program has 3 quality
Right.
on the roster. That's just how it is, man.
That's something that Mike talks about all the time. Like, we're the only people who, if your starting quarterback, starting running back goes down, you're dead in the water.
Right.
Yeah. I think look at the marquee programs over the last 5 years. I mean, Joe Burrow was in there with JT Barrett, and who was the other guy? He was back there. I mean, they had a lot of quarterbacks in that quarterback room at one point. You know, Mac Jones, Tua, Jalen Hurts, all in the same quarterback room at one time. And you know, if
look at Florida last year, right? I mean, or the year before that, right? Like Trask was the backup quarterback 2 years ago, and then you got Jones that comes in after he gets hurt, and he's the 3rd string quarterback, and he shreds us a little bit in that game at Florida, right? Like, it's just it's kind of ridiculous, the position that we're in, with depth and talent past the first level.
Yeah, past the 1 deep.
Yeah.
One deep, it can almost compete with anybody, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Number 2s and 3s, and you're going, my goodness, man, this is it's supposed to be an upper echelon SEC team, and the recruiting at quarterback, running back, offensive line has been atrocious. I mean, let's be honest here, and that's what these guys are trying to fill in right now. I think the quarterback. We'll go back to TJ. We all agree that you got to have 3. And he's that 3rd. And Auburn is definitely not spending this much time on this kid. They are preaching to him. And TJ and I talked some off the record. He went on the record. I forgot where those quotes were from about Bo, but he truly believes that he can come in and not only compete for the starting job, but he thinks he has a very good shot at winning it. Right. And I think that would
as he should.
Good for everyone.
But I'm gonna let you go, Mike. I'm just gonna say I like the fact that you indicate the competitive nature of Bo Nix to say, all right, cool, bring it on, right? Like, just as confident as TJ is in, like, okay, if you put me in that QB room, I can win the job. Bo is equally as confident to say, sure, bring that kid in. I'm gonna beat him, no problem, right? And if I don't beat him, he better not slip, because when I get in the game, he's not getting his spot back.
Well, that's where I was going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I hear that. I hear all that. But I want to go back to how likely is it, do you think, if he loses the starting job? I hear what you're saying about him being competitive, right? Mm-hmm. But if he loses this job in the fall, it's not likely, but we've seen it before. We've seen a quarterback like Chris Todd come in and win a job in 8 practices. What is the likelihood that he stays?
Oh,
yeah. It would probably be in his best interest now with the portal rules to just finish out the season and then transfer, right? I would think. But like, do you honestly think Bo stays on this team if he loses his job, TJ Finley?
If I were saying anybody would stay, it would be Bo. I really do. I really believe if anybody would stay, it would be that guy.
All right.
But this transfer portal sure is enticing, man.
That's all I'm saying.
You telling me he can't go? I mean, he could go to Jacksonville. Say he go to Troy, light it up, and pursue his dreams of next level stuff. It's really tough at this point because it's so easy to leave, and it should be. I mean, it's easy for these coaches to leave. Let's be honest here. These guys, but you talked about having that mentality of bring it on. Does D. Davis have that? And if so, then he's not going anywhere. And if any of them don't, do you really want them?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, so,
Right.
I think it's fair though for somebody to say, if you're bringing in somebody who has the same amount of eligibility I have left to compete for this job, like, am I going to all I want to know is, am I going to get a fair shot?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care about the competition. Is it fair? Like, have you predetermined where? And I think, this is me outside looking in. I don't have any insider knowledge about what the situation was in locker rooms and all this. I don't get the sense from the previous coaching staff that there were a lot of fair shots given to people for opportunities to show what they could do. And so that's why you see the attrition happening with no turnover, right? The staff wasn't turning over, but the talent was. Right. And so I just feel like kids were like, I don't even have a shot to show anything here. Like, why am I staying here?
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that's a huge difference. I think with the previous staff, TJ Finley he's not even sniffing over right now. And I couldn't blame him because I wouldn't trust Gus and those guys to give him a fair shot.
Right.
Both is going to start, and he's going to have to mess up badly before anybody else gets a shot. That's just how it was.
It did feel like Bo would have to throw a shoe at the ref in the middle of the play, right, to be bent. And so what I'm looking forward to is maybe if this guy comes in and they accept him, regardless of whether he wins the job or not, the staff bringing him in makes me feel better that the way we evaluate talent is going to change, and it will make me feel more confident that the best guy is going to win the job.
Absolutely.
So if that's Bo, right? But I'm not convinced, seeing what Malik Willis is doing, that we haven't let go of some of the better guys over the years, right? Because they did not get a fair shot, to Ike's point, to win the job. How fair a shot did Malik get to win the job?
So not necessarily about Malik Willis or that, just kind of hearkening back to former quarterbacks that transferred from Auburn when we talk about this rule that the SEC is pondering. Like, didn't they shoot themselves in the foot by letting Joey Gatewood play last year with this rule? Like, don't we now have precedent to say SEC to SEC transfers should be able to play that very next year? Because Gatewood got playing time last year. Now, it took a lot of nudging, but it happened.
Right.
So, like, I don't even understand why we're going through all of this. This seems like a for show thing where it's like, well, you just did this. I can point to press. Like, so if TJ Finley wants to come to Auburn, he'd be like, well, you just let Gatewood do it last year. How come I can't?
And I think as a conference too, you just don't want to lose talent to other conferences, because if a kid can't transfer and be eligible, I mean, you're basically shipping them to another conference.
Yeah.
Right. So it works against you. So I will be surprised, to your point earlier, Jeffrey, that I foresee them allowing these kids to be eligible. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me to be shipping talent to other conferences over a silly rule.
And
how much talent the SEC has right now, and those guys wanting to leave, and the SEC going, well, you can leave, but you have to go somewhere else. You can't stay. I just can't see them doing that.
Yeah, it's time for these guys to stop dictating to these young adults what they should be or could be doing with their own careers. I'm sick of that.
Yeah.
Right. Put the power back in the players' hands, because these millionaires who are charged with their development can lie and not hold up their end of the bargain all the time. And then at the end of it, you restrict the kid. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right. So if a coach fails to hold up his end of the bargain and you don't get a fair shot, or they just, they tricked you, or they just lied and told you that you would have a chance and you didn't, you should get one get out of jail free card to say, let me find another situation with a dude who's not going to lie to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or where I'll have a shot. I think I think one transfer is okay. I don't want it to be free agency, but one should be okay.
I completely agree. Hey, everybody gets one. After that, I'm get out.
Because at that point, then the kid's clearly not making good decisions about his own career. It's like you picked the wrong school the first time, and then you picked the wrong school the second time. All right, you need to sit down somewhere and learn how to make decisions, bro.
Right. I just want to point out we got Devin Aroma, should be former Auburn wide receiver here in the comments. He gave us a lot of hand claps for give kid. I mean, because he didn't have a portal. Right. When Devin played, there was no portal. And, he said, listen, the coaches were straight up with him. Like, I mean, they all knew what Auburn was. Philip Lolly was the one who got him to Auburn. And we didn't throw the ball a lot. But we did do enough that a guy like Devin got a chance to get to the league and, was blessed to play 9 years. So, that's where I'm at. Like, it's these kids come and everybody who waxes poetic about, it's we're an educational institution first. Okay, yeah, I get that, right? But these kids all have a dream to play at the next level.
Yeah,
give them a shot to live their dream.
The vast majority of these kids are not coming to Auburn for the education. Let's be clear. They have been dreaming of being NFL players since they were like 10. And you're going to tell me that now, 8 years later, they have the opportunity to come play somewhere and they're going there because that school has microbiology. Sit down somewhere.
Vegetable production.
They are not coming because they heard about freaking the exercise training course at your no, stop.
Right.
Imagine being Devin with the running back that they had 2003, 2004. The running back, the back, when Al Borges calling plays. Devin, man, that was a fantastic wide receiving core back then. You had Devin, you had Ben, Courtney Taylor,
Anthony Mix.
Mix. I mean, those four right there were fantastic, man. And then I think it only took me about 6 months to learn how to pronounce Devin's last name. And then it took me another 6 months for Ben.
To pronounce it. It took me 6 months to figure out how to spell it. When I sent him
God. Copy paste.
Well, good discussion, guys. And I want to transition and acknowledge some of the fan questions. Send us some questions. Listen, it's not every day we have a recruiting expert like Jeffrey Lee on, so send us your questions. We'll do our best to try to get to them. Want to highlight one, Gregory Lawrence. Aside from the portal, hearing we're possibly passing on 2022 four-star offensive tackle Dane Shore. And I think that name, he has expressed interest in wanting to come to Auburn, but for whatever reason, I don't think he's received an offer. Is that correct, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I don't think he has a firm offer. No, he grew up an Auburn fan and had a lot of Auburn family. But I think Auburn's being a little bit more selective. I think they want to see him in camp. I think they want him to come to camp in June. They want to see him in person.
Okay.
And until then, they're kind of putting things on hold with him.
So what happened with the running back kid from, was it Tennessee that early on people were talking about? And then, he just kind of disappeared. He went into the
Cody Brown.
Cody Brown.
Yeah, I said Gray already committed somewhere. I'm talking. Yeah,
he went to Oklahoma, I think.
Yeah. Or was it Vandy? I'm sorry, it might have been Vandy who was.
Oh no, you're talking about Keon Henry Brooks.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, the Vandy running back. Who was the first name that I heard out of the portal? It was this kid's coming from Vandy. Jarrett Mason was this coach. Jarrett Mason recruited him. Auburn needs a running back. This kid has SEC experience, and I never could get anybody to confirm Auburn's interest there. And then it came out today that like Houston, Tulsa, Texas Tech, those are some of the schools he was looking at. I'm glad you brought that up because after talking about all those positions and all these targets that Auburn's still looking at in the portal, I failed to mention running back. Yeah. And the name that I've heard the most is Jordan Ingram, former three-star kid from BC. I mean, I'm sorry, not BC Rain. From
Central
St. Paul's, but he signed with Central Michigan.
Right.
Originally from Mobile. Auburn recruited him, and I remember this very well. He was a fantastic high school back. Man, he just lacked a little bit of top end speed, little straightaway speed. And you watch his video, his high school video, very impressive kid. He's big, 6'2", 220. But he's maybe a 4'5", 4'6" guy. And at the time, Auburn was all about that speed. And not saying they are now, but he just wasn't quite good enough for Gus. And ended up, and he had offers from SEC schools, and he waited. And by the time he got ready to make a decision on signing day, he didn't have a spot. So like 2 months later, I think it was in April or May, he ended up signing with Central Michigan, went up there and didn't play last year and ended up coming back to Mobile. But Auburn has absolutely shown interest in him. He's in the portal. And I really feel like he's, if I was to say, TJ Finley quarterback, Jordan Ingram is definitely the running back to keep an eye on.
Got a question from Todd Jordan. What about wide receivers in the portal?
The number one name is not in the portal yet. I mentioned this a little bit while ago. Auburn's definitely working behind the scenes with wide receiver and offensive tackle. The wide receiver has not entered the portal, and I promise you he's not from the ACC.
So you mean to tell me Justin Ross is not like on a plane right now to Auburn?
That was funny. People they were like, Justin Ross. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, that's not at all who I'm talking about. And I had actually texted his high school coach. And I was like, man, I'm sorry. This is kind of my fault because I said that there's a wide receiver in the portal and some Kings started, they actually thought it was going to be Justin Ross. And actually, so the high school coach gets with Justin, and Justin comes on Twitter and was like, hey, slow news day. I'm not transferring. So that was partially my fault. So I apologize. This other guy, and again, I don't want to say his name, but as soon as he enters the portal, it will. I don't think he's more of a household name right now, but once you see who it is and you do some research on this kid, you're going to say, okay, now we know. So Auburn's got some irons in the fire, just not ready to come out publicly with this. Because you don't want rumors getting to this kid and putting him through that. And whenever he gets ready to enter the portal, if he does get ready to enter the portal, but yes, wide receiver definitely, and there's a guy at the top of the board.
Well, hey, listen, Jeff, we'll retweet you as soon as you release the news, right? I have a high respect for the amount of energy you guys put into the decisions that these 18 to 20-year-olds are making. It's because it's tough, right, with all the things that they're trying to juggle to make a good decision. Yeah, we just want to talk about it after they've made the decision. So definitely come back and talk about that one.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, Justin Ross isn't transitioning to Auburn, but we are transitioning to some announcements. So Mike, what we got, man?
Listen, if you enjoy what we're doing here, you can become an insider. $5.99 a month will get you there. You see the guys in the comments with the little green badges by your names. Those are our insider members. They get Chop It Up with a pro. They get giveaways. They're going to have access to a lot of the new exclusive content that will be dropping in the lead up to the season. And also during the season, we're going to have some things on game day that will be members only. So become an insider so that you can get access to all that. Our merch store is live. We're wearing it on the show. I got my War Rapport Letterman on. It's real fly stuff. You can support our content by hitting our merch store. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. If you're joining us midstream here, right, we're giving away a Bo Jackson Kansas City roller card donated by our guy, No Risk, No Reward. His eBay store is Dirt Road Outfitters on eBay. Go check him out. He has donated cards for us to give away to you guys. All you have to do is drop a hashtag Save a Pet in the comments. That's hashtag Save a Pet, because we are partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to do exactly just that. Save a pet's life. Feed him, rescue him, and then find him a good home. If you do not know the joy of having a rescue, I highly suggest you look into it. I couldn't live without my little Albie, so I know you guys would enjoy it as well too. Speaking of being an insider, Chop It Up with a Pro tomorrow night with Courtney Taylor. We moved this time back just a little bit to accommodate Courtney's schedule, but he's joining us to talk, take your questions and talk a little bit about wide receiver. I know it's going to be a hot topic here at Auburn this year. And last but not least, we released a interview with Auburn's Associate Athletic Director and Football Chief of Staff, Brad Larondo. Brad told us a lot about the culture that Harston is bringing in. We didn't let him off the hook. We did not let him off the hook. We asked him some very pointed questions about what to expect and who our guy is. Right. I asked him, I said, hey, listen, nobody was looking at thinking Brian Harsin during this coaching search. Tell us about the guy that we got. He did a great job representing the program. It makes me feel really confident about the attitude and the work ethic that they're going to be bringing to Auburn football. So we're excited about that. Thank you, Brad, for joining us.
Indeed.
Let me say something real quick about the dirt road situation too, man. If you guys really like those cards, he still got some for sale. Like the ones he gave us aren't the only ones he has. So you can go to his eBay store and purchase some stuff from him. So y'all make sure y'all go over there, holler at him, and tell him the War Report sent you, man. Support our guy. He's been good to us, and we appreciate it.
If I'm not mistaken, that's a Bo Jackson rookie.
Yep, It is.
Yes. It is.
I had it. It was my prized possession as a kid. I had it on a play, Bo Jackson rookie, and this is a true story. I dreamed that some guy snuck in my room and pulled that. I didn't care about him taking me, but he was taking my Bo Jackson rookie card.
That's wild.
That's my favorite card of all time, right there.
All right.
Indeed. Well, let's transition on, man. We still got a few people to discuss. You already mentioned this guy early on in the show, but we had a particular section that we want to discuss him just individually, and that's the former Kansas Jayhawk defensive end Marcus Harris. 6'3", approximately 260 pounds. He played strong defensive end from Montgomery, Alabama. He finished the 2020 season with 27 tackles, 7.5 for a loss, 1 fumble recovery, 1 forced fumble. And the interesting thing about this guy is that he can play on the edge as well as in the interior. That was something that I believe you noted in the article. He also holds another offer from Tennessee and would also have 4 years of eligibility remaining as well. I'm assuming that this is pretty much going to address whatever losses we had in the interior, either through injury or through guys entering the portal. Should Harris commit to Auburn this week? This, I believe, is Friday, you said?
Yeah, Friday. I don't know that there's a time yet. I'll check with him tomorrow, but sometime Friday.
So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this guy? Tell us. He wasn't didn't appear to be a highly recruited kid, but he showed out in the Big 12. So what would Auburn be potentially getting in this guy? Les
Miles came down to Montgomery and got this kid when nobody else really wanted him. I love Marcus Harris, and you mentioned it, the versatility. He can play the 3, 4, 5. He can play all 3 of those positions. I think what'd you say, 265?
260, 265, somewhere in there.
And he has such a high ceiling. His floor might have been lower. When he was being recruited, a lot of people didn't see that ceiling he has. Man, it didn't take him long. I think he was a redshirt freshman last year. So he'd had a redshirt. Is that right, Caesar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got all these guys in my mind. I'm trying to keep them together. He had a redshirt year, and then he had the redshirt freshman year where he went off 7 tackles for loss. But for a guy that can play any of the 3, and with Colby, with Derek Hall, with Colby Wooden, this guy could be the 3 technique, the 4-eye. And I'm curious to see how Derek Mason's defense, how he's going to play this defensive line. What his rotation is going to be.
Right.
We know Tony Fair. We know Tyrone Truesdale is going to be that 0 tech, that 0-1 head up on the ball. But what he's going to do with who flanks him. But this is certainly a guy who Auburn would think would be immediately in the 2 deep. I love his versatility, love his size, and from talking to him a couple of times, I love the kid. He's got a high character guy, and really like him. It's easy to be a fan of guys who are very respectful and very, very polite, well-mannered kids. Man, I really, really like Marcus. He is a quality young fellow.
What does it say to how well Nick Eason is just targeting different kids of a certain skill set? I mean, he's where these kids want to be. So talk about how he's been evaluating talent along that line, finding guys like Fair and now this kid. Like, what would you say about the job he's done since being on the Plains?
Fantastic, and I'll tell you why. I thought Kevin Steele did a great job at this, and Kevin would take the time and he would explain this to me like it was the difference between him and Gus Malzahn. It was the difference between offense and defenses. It was why Auburn had such depth on the defense and lack thereof on offense. Kevin, every year, was plugging at least one person at every position. So there would never be that lull. And Gus wasn't. He was just kind of getting the best guys that he could and kind of sorting them out. And we need a left tackle. Let's go, throw an offer to this kid, and we'll bring him in and coach him up. And I feel like that's what Derek's doing on defense, and Nick's following suit on that defensive line with Tony Fair, with Andrew Leota. Let's don't forget about him.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 transfer guys coming in to run this 3-4. You've got defensive backs coming in, really not in need of a linebacker, but maybe Keyshawn Brown adds some depth there with a gray shirt or something. But love how Nick Eason, and I'm guessing that's coming from Derek Mason, how we need this guy and getting the best guy available at that position. Tony Fair, Leandro Leota. Let's don't forget about Dylan Brooks.
Right.
I think Leota, I think Dylan Brooks, I think Dre Sean Miller, Darius Knighton. I think all of these guys are day one too deep at the least.
The defense is looking, like you said it earlier, that defense is looking really scary. Man, our opponents this year are in for a lot of bad days if they can get that gelling together in these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think if guys know their assignments, right, defensively, because changing defensive schemes is not like changing offensive schemes. And I think that you can get these guys in from other programs, and they can come in and hit the ground running and play fast. And if they can play fast, now I called it, Jeffrey, you may not have seen this, but I've been saying it for a few of our Facts or Null segments on Friday, that I think Auburn leads the league in sacks in 2021.
Oh,
and I think that with lockdown corners on the outside and, a good defensive scheme, getting pressure on the quarterback is going to become a thing again, which means that these DBs are going to have a chance to eat, right? And you're not going to be able to be one-dimensional against us defensively anymore and get away with it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I'm excited.
Same here.
For sure.
Listen, if you guys don't have anything, I want to tackle some fan questions. How are we doing on time, Jeffrey? We got a few more minutes with you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Want to tackle some fan questions and just get their thoughts, your thoughts on some of the things they're asking you. Shout out to Anthony Grant. He's asking, how confident do you feel about Story committing to Auburn? He has a brother, correct me if I'm wrong, already at Alabama.
Christian.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how confident do you feel about Story?
I'm fairly confident. And I think his kid's he's not I want to follow my brother type of kid. He wants to do his own thing. These brothers kind of grew up kind of like me and my brother. We were fighting, it wasn't like, we wanted to follow each other. He wanted to be my shadow or anything like that. And I kind of get the same vibe from Christian and Caden. I think Caden is I think Christian wanted to go off and do his, the big Alabama thing. I think Caden is more of a not a homebody, but he's not that. He's not ready to bolt. He's from down the road in Lynette. It's about 25, 30 minutes from Auburn. But Nick Eason's pushing hard from him. And I would say right now, signing day were tomorrow, I think Story would sign with Auburn. Of course, it's not, but I think if Auburn's got a lead for a kid right now, it's only going to grow. I don't because I feel like the season's going to go well. I feel like the relationships are going to get stronger. I feel like Auburn's going to surprise some guys, surprise some people with the season they're having. I still think 8 wins is the ceiling.
Facts.
All right.
You hear that, B? You hear that, Brian?
I hear y'all.
Well, I think if Auburn leads for anybody right now, which they do, Emory Floyd, I was going to say Caden, but he hasn't publicly said that. But I feel like the lead is only going to go up. The JUCO wide receiver, Latrell Jones, is another kid. So there's some guys that Auburn has, and June is going to be huge. The month of June is going to be huge for Auburn, for guys like Caden Story. Getting those guys on campus, saying hello, shaking their hands.
Right. Right.
Let me show you our new facilities that's just started today. I mean, they're clearing, they're moving dirt over here today. I think it's going to be huge for Auburn. Those relationships, getting kids on campus, Auburn sells itself. And without that, it's a tough pull, especially with coaches that these kids don't know. They don't know about half of the staff. So it's been very difficult for these guys to get in with these big time recruits. Get them on campus, and they've got some big dogs coming in June for visits. It is going to be 2023 guys too, and that they're really setting their sights on that 2023 class.
Right.
Don't judge these guys' recruiting ability by the 2022 class. Holler back at me in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You hear that, people? Don't, because we've been spoiled by stars. We've been wanting to see 4 and 5 stars. We've been spoiled by that. But be patient. Be patient. It's the talent, not the stars that you want to.
I just think the transfer portal is the great equalizer for all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just you can miss on a guy out of high school, and you get a second chance at him because he sits his freshman year, and you get to be like, hey, listen, I got a spot for you. You can pull up today. And they'll be there on the planes the next year. So, and I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing them do this year in the transfer portal. That lets me know, National Signing Day or early signing period is not where this staff ends their work on trying to get talent into this program. So what we even saw at the spring game, anything that we saw that we're like, I don't know about that, they've already saw the same things, and they're saying, we've got to solidify some things. And they've made a concerted effort to say, we know where our weaknesses are. We know who the guys are that are just barely hanging on here, whether it's talent, homesick, culture fit, blah, blah, blah. We've got the next wave of people that we're going to go out and address those needs. I was encouraged by the fact that, Handy and Hardy gone. They already had defensive line guys lined up.
Right.
Right.
It's going to be a key for a lot of fans to understand that record is not going to be the true indicator of the trajectory of this program in year one. So even if I won't overreact to 6-6, and I wouldn't overreact to 10-2.
Right.
Gus messed me up, man. Right. He did. He messed me up. And, we have a lot of listeners, Jeff, that think we talk about Gus too much, but I just don't know who all these people are who get divorced after 8 years and are over it 8 weeks later. Like, 8 years, I woke up on Saturdays hopeful that this was going to be the year. Right. And then, we continuously
you guys haven't seen that SEC Shorts video. It encapsulates my life. Man.
Yeah. The ride that is an Auburn fan. So, again, even if he pulls out a 10-2 this year, without an encore performance in 2022, it doesn't mean much. Right.
Yes.
Right. I will take slow, steady improvement over a huge high in year one, only to fall off that in year two. Right. You can go 8-4 and show that you're improving, and show kids. We asked Josh Pate, we said, hey, what is the recruiting pitch for Harsin? I want to ask you this question. What's the recruiting pitch for this staff, right, to kids coming in if you're watching Auburn football in 2021? Because your record may not be great. So what are you selling to kids? Saban is selling job placement in the NFL. What's Harsin selling? I'm asking.
All right, that's a question for you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a question. What's Harsin selling?
Well, he was Zooming with me earlier. No, he's offering opportunity. It's a clean slate for him. I've heard it from recruits already. They want to take this program back to where it needs to be, back to where it should be, back to where Brian Harsin, man. He is a dog. He is a competitor. He is serious. He's no nonsense. He knows how to handle himself. Do you not watch him and go, man, I believe in that guy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's full of. You watch Gus and you go, really? And I like Gus personally, but as a leader, I didn't have confidence in him. He didn't exude confidence. Brian Harsin, I look at that guy and I go, man, you tell me what to do, and I'm going to lose doing it. If we're going to lose, I'm going to lose doing what you're doing. And I think people, especially recruits, are going to get that feel from him getting in person with him. I think that's very powerful, and he's got a vision, and he wants a certain type of kid. He does. You talk about the guys that you think Auburn should be recruiting, but they're not. There's reasons for that. They don't fit his mold. They don't. He doesn't want guys that can't make it across the finish line and running sprint. He doesn't want guys showing up late to meetings and stuff. Those guys are going to be gone anyway, so why bring them in? He wants guys that are doing things the right way, that are going to do things the right way, which is his way when they get there. That's what he wants. That's what he's preaching. And if you ain't about that business, you ain't going to be about him.
Which is refreshing to hear. Listen, we got one more question before we let you go. We're going to transition to a different sport. We had a few people ask you about the Georgia commitment, your thoughts on him, but specifically Blake Robinson's question. What does that mean for JT Thor getting this transfer from Georgia?
Nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say JT Thor, the NBA is going to determine his future.
Yeah, and listen, I got a pretty good feel, or at least the people that I'm talking to, they don't. There's not a lot of optimism Thor's coming back, unless something's changed, and I'll probably look into this a little more next week. But I don't see him coming back. I think with that, they've got one scholarship left. They could hold on to it. They could award a walk on. Scoot Henderson could shock the freaking world and come sometime before August. I absolutely do not see that happening. Neither do they, which is why they took KD. But you talk about the transfer portal, and you miss him. You missed on him in this class. He goes and he sits for a year, or gets unhappy with, and you get him back. Look at Walker Kessler, 5-star center that went to North Carolina, shunned Auburn, went to North Carolina. He arrived on campus today. And I talked to KD this morning before his announcement, and he was saying, and I covered KD back out of high school, and he wanted to come to Auburn so badly. And Auburn had Turbo at the time. They had a commitment from Sharif, and they just didn't have a room for him. And he ended up going to Georgia. And, man, I thought he lit it up last year. When I watched Georgia, the few times that I watched Georgia, KD Johnson's the one who stood out to me. I love this kid. I think he was a perfect fit for what Auburn needed. They needed a shooter. They needed a three-point guy. They needed a guy who could play point if he needed to, but better on the wing. I mean, this kid, he can light it up. He's I think he shot 37% last year from three-point. His first college game was against Auburn. He blew up for 21. Really good relationship with Wes Flanagan and Bruce Pearl, and he is super excited to be able to finally, he wanted to come to Auburn so bad. He gets to come to Auburn, and that's what Auburn needed. Was they've got those 2-point guards, Wendell Green, Zep Jasper. Now you've got a big time shooter. You've got Desi Sills coming in from Arkansas, and all 4 of those guards are tenacious Tigers, tenacious on defense, man. And Bruce, to me, he addressed the needs. So I mean, it blows my mind covering a guy like Gus Malzahn for the past 8 years to see this guy who's so, competent isn't even, that's offensive to Bruce Pearl. This guy is a magician. I mean, he is
master.
Jabari Smith.
Wow.
You got Walker. Yeah. You got these 4 guards coming. He lost half the damn roster. Excuse me. He lost half the roster.
We're good with that. I say way worse.
And everybody's going, oh, man, we had this Final Four team coming up for next year, and now everybody's gone. Sharif's gone. Thor's gone. All these guys are transferring. What are we going to do now? And then he goes out and he freaking upgrades the roster at every possible. I mean, obviously you're not going to upgrade Sharif, but maybe on the defensive end you do. Right. I'm telling you, this is on paper, and I think Bruce said this either yesterday or today. This is maybe one of the most talented teams he's ever had.
I don't disagree with that. I think from a consistency of talent from 1 to 5, right? Like you've had some standouts here and there. Like you've had guys that are great at shooting, decent on defense. You had guys that are good on defense, not very good offensively. Very consistent roster where you don't feel like you live and die with one kid on the court.
Right. I mean, 1 to 12. Sure, you've got Babatunde, you've got Devin, you've got Dylan, you've got Chris Moore, and then you've got what's a good nucleus. I mean, those are going to be. I mean, if you're going to rank 1 to 12 right now, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
I mean, Stretch and Dylan are. I mean, I don't know. Then you got Allen. These are some really good players. You can probably hear the excitement in my voice about this roster because I mean, it's hard to find a weak spot when you. Ari Smith and Walker Kessler 4 and 5, and you've got Allen and KJ. I mean, we're not even talking KD. Devin Chambers, Allen, all these guys coming back with all these new guys. It is it's exciting, man. I'm excited to see how he's handling. I thought it was very interesting. I think last week when he said, "Man, we're not going to go out and put in, install our offense and defense. I'm going to let them play. Go pick up, man. Let me see what we got. Let me see how y'all play. Let me see how you gel together. Who's meshing with whom?" And it's fun to cover. I love covering basketball recruiting. It's so much fun.
Is it weird that when you can evaluate and develop, recruiting gets easier sometimes?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Right? Guys want to come play for you when you have demonstrated that you can develop. Whoa!
Yeah, you put a couple guys in the league, and then all of a sudden, I know I don't even have a cup here. I'm supposed to be drinking right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
that's kind of a tradition here. When we talk about development or strength and conditioning, we have to take a drink. So
yeah, and that's coming off of almost 500 season in basketball.
Right?
Come on, man.
Recruiting at the same pace and level as Nick Saban does in football. I mean, I look at Auburn's lost Jalen Green and Scoot Henderson to the only people that could beat him
was the G League.
The G League. That's it. There was he's good. He's a wonderful person. I love Wes Flanagan. I love Ira Bowman. I love Stephen Pearl, Chad Pruitt, Burgermeister, man, that he's got a fantastic staff. People see that. He's genuine. All those guys are fantastic. I don't know if you've ever had any of those guys on, but put them on your list because you'll instant respect for any of those guys.
For sure.
Indeed. Well, Jeffrey, we thank you, man, for taking time out of your very busy schedule on a very busy day to sit down and talk to us and talk to the people who are watching live with us, answering their questions. We appreciate what you guys do. We get asked questions about recruiting all the time, and we don't try to go there because we know that there are people out there who do a much better job than we ever could, which is why we have you here. So thanks again. And tell Brian Matthews, hey, he needs to come up to the War Report and talk to us as well. So
be on deck. Well, so, I love the show, man. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'll come on anytime you want to, man. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anytime.
Oh, we will. We'll take you up on that. Don't you worry.
June after those camps, June.
Yeah, June, man. And when the I'll holler at you when the if and when the wide receiver goes into the portal.
Oh yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. Well, War Eagle, thank you so much, Jeffrey Lee, and you have a good evening, sir.
Appreciate you guys, man. I really do.
Thanks.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, fellas.
All right, guys. Is it time, Mike?
Oh man, listen. Can't say enough about Jeffrey Lee. When I reached out to him about coming on the show, I read a lot of his stuff. And for these guys who cover recruiting, it's important work, right? For some fans who are interested in, every recruit that's out there, we deal more with, hey, this guy signed, now let's talk about him. And so to have somebody who's plugged in, I appreciate his candor. And you know what? I'll tell you what I appreciate is the respect for a kid's decision to go to a school that this man has.
Yeah.
That can't be understated, man. The respect to say, hey, listen, I got a scoop on a guy, but I'm going to wait till he announces. Yeah. Right. Before we start talking about it, says something to his character. And so, I'm looking forward to having him back to talk about, whoever this wide receiver is that's in there, because
I'm very curious now.
Yeah. I mean, he piqued my interest and then having him come back and share that with all of us. Right. So that we can get to know the staff is taking a really aggressive approach to bringing in. And I dare to say that there's a little bit of house cleaning going on here.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
Because listen, I felt like we were good in the defensive backfield, and they were just like, you know what, we're not good enough.
Right.
We can still upgrade, and they're committed to saying, good is not excellent. What was the quote that Tim Duncan had at his Hall of Fame speech? Good, better, best. Work until you're good, you're better, and your better's your best. Like he said, that's what his mom taught him. Yeah. This staff is just like, listen, we're gonna figure out a way to get the best. Yeah, okay, good's cool. We could get better. but we still aren't at best yet. And we're going to figure out how to get there. And we're going to keep just sharpening the blade until it's the exact place that we need it to be. And I'm loving that. The mentality change. Again, look, we can talk whatever we want to about, Gus Malzahn. I want to leave him out of this conversation. And I do want to talk a little bit about what I feel is a significant change in the mentality that this staff is bringing. What we don't know is, will it pay dividends in the long term, wins and losses? Sure. What we do know is the competitive nature of this team. I don't understand how you can have a coach with that mentality, a staff with that mentality, and you don't see guys competing really hard every Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you don't accept it in practice, how are you not going to see that on the field, right? Like if you're accepting it in practice, then you kind of get what you get on the field. Like you don't know if that guy's going to step it up to the next level. But if every day in practice, what the statement that Jeff made that I think is interesting, he's like, guys weren't running across the line.
Man,
right? Listen, we're running sprints, finish the rep, right? And if you're not finishing the rep, you can't play football for me. Mm-hmm. Like it's that simple, and it's a simple concept, but it's like finish, man. We're gonna look.
Well, listen,
2 more steps. Finish.
But you saw the bowl game, right?
Yock said the exact same thing. That's the mentality Yock said he took. He was like, when he would have the kids come in and he's running sprints, it's like, no, you don't run to the line, you run through it.
Right.
And you're gonna sprint, and if you don't, we're gonna run it again.
Right.
But again, you saw that mentality, Ike, in the bowl game.
Yeah.
Like
that
doesn't surprise me when you look at what we were putting on the field against a team who was playing to the whistle, playing for 4 quarters. Like we was just there going through the motions.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me that that's what Harsin is seeing in practice because we saw it on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And more than that, I think, again, you said, like, I don't want to beat up on Gus. He's gone and we can see the change in culture. But what sticks out to me, and this is something that we've watched the program change. Like we had those highs, and like Mike, like you were alluding to earlier, it's like you woke up like, "Ooh, this might be the day, the year, something magical will happen." Like I don't see on paper we should lose this game by 16 points, but I don't know, man. It's Gus, so we might do something. Like we always had this just kind of inkling of hope that we were going to get some magic because that's what we started his tenure with. And what it lets me know when you're hearing from all these the recruiters and the people who are writing, and really what we saw and what we thought we saw, which is, I don't know, man, we don't look like we're good enough. I don't know, man, we're not recruiting that well. We're getting stars, but I don't know, man. It looked like we kind of gave up after we got behind early. You know what? We were right. We saw what was happening, right. And it looked like every time if a game was competitive, then we had a shot, sure. If we were out coached from the outset, we never came back in games.
Right.
If they had our number early, first, second quarter, there was no adjustment. There was no change. I thought we were seeing that, but everybody's like, oh, you don't know, it could be this or that. No,
and I think that's the thing that upsets me is everybody's trying to. Well, are you in the locker room? Do you know?
Right.
I'm like, I can look, bruh. The product tells me everything.
Yes, the result let me know what we were seeing. We were correct. It's like we don't. I don't have to. I did not play football. The disclaimer. Everybody should know that. So the competitive nature of team sports, especially football, is not something I'm familiar with. I was a baseball kid. Why? Because it was easy. So I still, though, it's like you can see these things happening. Like, what a competitive team looks like. What a motivated team looks like. And to know now validates that thing that we were seeing with our eyes, and people are telling us, oh, you don't know. No, we did know. We know what not discipline, not giving 100%, poor preparation. Now I know what that looks like. And I'm not going to doubt that when I see it with my eyes going forward. Not necessarily with Auburn, but with anybody. You know what dysfunction looks like. And I'm glad that we properly identified it. And of this panel, I wanted to get rid of Gus first. Thank you very much. I would like my flowers.
You get your flowers, B. You get your flowers. Listen, I'm just moving forward with Harsin. I'm just happy to see that Auburn has a need and the coaches are actually going to feel the need.
Yes, man.
Like people said, we need a receiver. Jeffrey says, hey, be on the lookout. They're looking for a receiver. We need an offensive tackle. Be on the lookout. They're working on the linemen. You know what I mean? Like it's refreshing to see that we'll lose a guy or we have a need, and we know that those coaches are going to find someone who has a mentality that aligns with Harsin to want to go and play and fill that need. So to me, that's just comforting, just even in the offseason, to know we have a coaching staff that is recruiting based on need and finding guys who want to prove themselves and ball. Like that's just to me, that's just comforting to me. And to Mike's point, if we got a clean house to get the right guys in, so be it. Auburn will be better in the long run.
Yeah. Like don't panic about these transfers and these guys leaving. Whenever there's a culture shift, right, there are going to be guys who say, "Yes, please, sir, may I have some more?" And others going to be like, "Nah, fam, I'm out." Right. So the "Nah, fam, I'm out" guys, we wish you well, right? Like I wish no ill will.
There's no need to beat up a kid for making that decision.
But
that ain't got nothing to do with that. Please be successful, whatever you decide to do.
But the coaches who are here, right, are building something, and they're hopefully building something that we're all going to be proud of and look forward to on Saturdays. Yeah. I'm looking for not a lot less bipolar type, Saturdays, because again, watching Auburn football has been a roller coaster, an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. And, not knowing what you're going to get from week to week, or watching a championship defense just fall by the wayside because we can't even score 3 touchdowns in a game.
For sure.
Is just, I'm hoping those days are over. Right. So, with, there's a lot of talk about this staff that Harsin has, assembled, and with recruiting, if they find their guys, I just hope that they can put it all together, and just deliver consistency, right? Develop consistently, and you can win consistently, right? And I believe that. I believe that if you can develop consistently, you can win consistently. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean national championship every year, right? But finishing in the top 10 every year should be a reality.
Right.
Yeah. For a staff that should be recruiting top 10 recruiting classes. Giving him a pass for this year, I do not expect him to recruit worse than Gus did. Mm-hmm. And Gus, listen to this, man. Top 9 recruiting classes, but still nothing past the 1 deep a lot of times. Whoa.
Yeah.
Right? Come on, man. Listen to what Jeffrey said. Past the 1 deep, there wasn't a lot, and those were still top 10 recruiting classes. To me, that's more about development, man. If you can't develop the 2 through 3 spots, because you're not going to get a whole roster full of 5 stars.
Yeah.
Alabama gets their fair share of 3 stars. They all somehow turn into NFL players. Right? So it really is about development. And then you fill the talent gap with stars, to help catch you up to the big guys. Yeah. But this is just, I'm lost, man. Like I'm such in a weird place about this upcoming season, and I have resigned myself to, this is just, I'm willing to accept whatever the outcome in terms of record is, as long as they can show me that I can feel good about. I mean, I don't believe in moral victories for the most part, but I still want to feel good about the losses. Yeah. No South Carolina type losses this year.
Yeah.
Or
right.
Georgia.
Like, let's hang in there with teams who, even if we get beat by 10 points, it feels like we were right there ready to break through.
Yeah. And let's be clear. I'm still going to be fresh. I'm going to come on here post game frustrated that we missed the 1 or 2 plays that could have turned that game around.
Facts.
Right. That does not mean I'm not going to be here and I'm going to be like, oh man, we screwed that up. And I'm not going to have that frustration as a fan that, man, we could have won that. But in the retrospective at the end of the year, I'm going to feel a lot better about where the program is. Now, game to game, I'm going to be pissed when we lose.
Yeah.
But at the end of the season, I'm going to feel a lot better about where the program is. And that's going to be a huge difference, because I can tell you with 100% certainty, and you can go check the tape, I did not feel great about where Auburn was as a program at the end of last season. And this is before Gus got fired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can check the tape.
Check it.
2018.
2018.
Yeah, well, Brian's saying 2018 is when he was over it. He was like, "Look, I was done."
Yeah, he's been screaming that for a minute. In fact, here's your flowers, B.
Thank you.
Here's your flowers.
Thank you.
You ask and you shall. You have not because you ask not. So
we got a couple super chats here.
Yeah, man, love the cats.
What's up, man? I ain't seen you in a minute. Well, at least not in the comment section. You might have been chilling in the background. We appreciate you following through.
Our main man,
Walt. This is facts right here.
Yes, sir.
Deserves so much credit for number one having the balls just to go get his guy, right? Like, because this was not the guy that everybody thought he should hire, and he went and was like, "Look, this is who I want. This is who we're gonna hire, and we're gonna make something different happen here." So, listen, we'll see where it goes, but you got to give him a ton of credit for just being like, "Listen, this is the direction I want to take Auburn's football program.
Right.
We need to build something different here, and he's the guy that's going to take us in that direction."
Right.
In the midst of chaos. So, thank you, Green.
Yeah, I see our guy. Oh, hey, Corey Weber, man, I ain't seen you in a minute.
Yeah.
Welcome, Corey Weber.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Corey pops in every now and then. You know, I understand you're working a lot, man. So definitely appreciate when you can pop in. And we definitely see you making the comments in the video afterwards. So, you know, we appreciate you continuing to support in whatever way you all can.
Yeah, our man Vernon Speaks here is in the comments, man. Shout out to Vernon. Always appreciate what he's doing over on his channel.
TJ's asked this question a couple of times. I want to sneak this in before we get out of here. Do we feel like we upgraded in the positions that we lost and got in the portal? So what do we feel about, like, I honestly feel as if we got, I don't know. It's hard to say better because I don't know what Handy and Hardy can do, right? Like, so
yes, yeah, that's kind of hard to answer.
If we're talking along the defensive line, I didn't see enough of them to know what they could potentially be. But I do know that Tony Fair has shown me something already. So I am more confident in what his abilities are today than I am in their abilities today, just based upon what I've seen on the field. As far as transfers on the outside, I don't think that you can argue that Dre Sean Miller and Knighton and Kaufman are not upgrades in the defensive backfield above and already stacked. Like, those guys are going to immediately, just based upon what they've done on the field already from a playing and just a talent perspective. Yeah, they're upgrades. So I don't think that we lost anyone that we didn't replace with equal to or better talent anywhere.
Right.
I'm
impressed.
Yeah, I'm not too shaken up about Handy and Hardy because I feel like if those were the guys that we thought they were by their star rating, they would have gotten on the field more. Like, I don't know if it was behavioral or discipline, but there's a reason why you get a really, really, really good freshman. If he is the talent you think he is, he doesn't make the field. Derek Brown was on the field year one. Carl Lawson was on the field year one. Those were the difference makers. They were heavy hitting guys and they lived up to the billing. And if you were going to be that type of talent, you would have gotten on the field over especially at defensive line. Listen, we were struggling on defensive line. We were getting gashed on defensive line. So if you could have helped us, you would have gotten on the field. Kevin Steele put people in there. He got you reps if you were living up to what he expected of you. So the fact that we lost them, I wasn't too worried
and then you got a guy in Wright who was apparently outshining you, and he didn't even play defensive line before last year, right? So it's just like, I don't know how good, like, you might have been all right, but a converted offensive lineman is beating you.
Yeah. Man. So that's why I'm like you said, go somewhere where you can get some playing time and you can show what you can do. If you feel like you got something to prove, great. But here they're getting guys who we've already seen produce. That's important to me. If you're going to be here year one, you've got somebody, number one, with the right attitude, and number two, you've already seen their potential flash. Now you just have to mold them a little bit more. That's perfect. That's exactly what we need.
Hey man, shout out to Dan Webb down here. Dan, we appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate that. Is it time for a drawing?
It is time for a drawing.
Let's make it happen.
I did not see Spicy Penguin in the comments, but I was hoping that he would come back so that we could see his name almost win again. Hashtag save a pet. If you drop this
is your last chance.
There are 46 entries.
Enter it now.
30 seconds to win this Bo Jackson card. I mailed out the first few this week. But Save a Pet is about our relationship with the Lee County Humane Society to help save a rescue animal and find them a good home. So this is
10 seconds before I push this button.
If you ain't hashtag that show.
Justin Garner.
It's your fault.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Drawing. Oh, man. We got 49 entries. Who will it be? Who will be upset that it was almost them? Michael Moore.
Michael Moore.
Congratulations, good sir.
Congratulations, good sir.
Michael Moore.
All the way from Facebook
owner.
land.
Yeah, you are now the owner of a Bo Jackson rookie card, Kansas City Royals. Hit us up. The War Rapport at gmail.com is the email address. Send us the address that we need to get that to you. We will put that in the mail. And that is yours, sir. Michael Moore. Y'all congratulate him there. Don't be no bitter people in our comment section. Congratulate Mike on his win.
Congratulations, sir. Mike, take us out, man. What we got coming up?
Listen, lots of exciting stuff. Tomorrow night is Chop It Up with the Pro, Courtney Taylor. He's going to come on, answer some of our questions. We pushed the time back a little bit, so just watch out for us to schedule that on YouTube tomorrow. This is insider only, so our insiders, you guys, join us at any time. We really appreciate you guys being flexible so that we could accommodate Courtney's schedule. So if you miss it live, you will be able to watch it on replay, but you won't be able to ask your questions. And as I said, insider only. So become an insider for $5.99. You can join from our YouTube homepage. If you are on an iPhone, the easiest thing to do is find a computer. If you do not have a computer, just hit my DMs. I'll tell you how to do it from an iPhone. It's a little bit more complicated than joining from the app, but we appreciate you guys. This is a great way to support our content, guys. When you get these insider memberships, it allows us to be able to bring on sports writers like Jeffrey Lee and Nathan King joined us, Brad Larondo, Josh Pate. These interviews take some time and some effort to produce, so it does not happen in a vacuum. If you've seen other content on YouTube, you understand the difference between watching the Rapport and watching other stuff. So become an insider, please. We appreciate every bit of support that we get. You can also buy merch from our merch store to support us. We appreciate this too. And then if you just want to give a one-time donation and just say, hey, I just want to hit you guys with something for the year, we are now in league with the Lee County Humane Society. And every 50 cents on every dollar you donate goes to help us save an animal, rescue an animal, and then find them a good home. This is our good that we've chosen to put back out into world during a time where, honestly, where it seems like we're reaching for something positive. So, if Auburn loses on Saturday, at least I can say I helped save a pet before I broke my TV. So this is how I balance the universe. And we appreciate everyone who has been donating. We've seen some very generous donations to our GoFundMe over the last few days. And I can't stress enough, from the bottom of our hearts, we really appreciate you guys just being in there with us. Our interview with the one and only Brad Larondo has dropped. If you haven't had a chance to watch this, go take a look. Tell a friend. If you want to know what kind of culture Auburn is bringing in with Brian Harsin, this is the guy. Listen, this is the gateway to Harsin right here. This guy has been with him for 10 years. He is his chief of staff. He controls a lot of things in the athletic department. If you don't know what that means, watch the interview. He explains his role within the athletic department and how he's helping coordinate a lot of the administrative stuff that goes into having a winning and successful program. It's more than just X's and O's on the field. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. Brad Larondo, Auburn football athletic director, associate athletic director, and football chief of staff, joined us to talk about it. So please go watch that interview. And thanks again. Congratulations to our guy who won the Bo Jackson card. We'll be giving a few more away. And that's it, man. We're cranking over here at the Rapport.
Thanks again. Risk No Reward for offering those cards for us to give away. And congratulations, Michael Moore. Shout out to everyone who's been hanging out with us tonight on a hump day. We appreciate you guys. And we want you to do one more thing. Please share this video for this content. People are looking for content about Auburn football as it pertains to the transfer portal. And we think we provided a gem tonight. So let your friends, family, people who are up on Auburn sports, Auburn football, let them know that this video is out here. Please share it. If you're on Twitter, add us at the War Rapport, hashtag TWR War Room, hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. If not, what are you doing? Also, hit us up on Instagram and Twitter at The War Rapport. You can find us at TW Rapport on TikTok. Signing out, guys. We'll see our subscribers tomorrow as we chop it up with Courtney Taylor. Everyone else, we'll see you on Friday with Facts or Nah and our live show on the weekend. Until then, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.